Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of All Queued Up, your review podcast tied to streaming services like HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and Netflix, what have you. I'm your host, Greg Dietz, and with me always is Maya Don Fisher. How you been this week?
Not bad, not bad. Um, you know, enjoyed some playoff football. It's nice to see uh, the Chiefs go down. I was happy to see that as a Raiders fan.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I don't hate the Chiefs. I have nothing but respect for that team because they're a damn good team. But I was excited to see the Bengals take them down, which, everybody was like, "Aren't you mad? Aren't you upset the Raiders lost?" It's like, well, they lost to a great fucking team. And they're like, oh, they lost to Cincinnati. And I was like, no, they lost to the team that's going to the Super Bowl and could possibly win it. And I really do think that. So I don't have a problem with the Raiders losing to them as much as I would have had the Raiders lost to, say, the Chiefs, which, let's be fair, they probably would have done had they made it past Cincinnati. But yeah, pretty decent week. Nothing coming to mind or standing out negatively. So yeah,
it works out.
How about you?
Yeah, it was mostly okay. I went to my buddy's house to watch the Royal Rumble, which
I'm so sorry.
Well, here's the funny part: the women's Rumble, awesome, highly fucking entertaining. The men's Rumble fucking sucked. Here's why. So about halfway through the Rumble, there was a match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And I had followed that shit because I fucking hate Brock Lesnar. Like, genuinely have a strong despise against the character. Fucking sucks because he's just a meathead kind of character, and it drives me fucking nuts. It's like, and then Brock is a terrible wrestler. I'm just gonna fucking say it. I don't care what anybody thinks or says about me. He's a fucking awful wrestler. He does not ring work, and he half-asses fucking like cool shit. Like, are you really gonna get kicked in the chest and then have a delay and then hit the fucking post on the ring? That's really what you're doing, Brock? And you think that's good? I think that's entertaining? Breathe. And then Brock loses the title to Roman Reigns because of interference in the ring and was whatever. Ref got knocked out. Which I was like, okay, cool. Give the title to somebody who deserves it. And we move forward. We go to the men's Rumble. All these guys are coming out, and for a solid like 15, and I'm not kidding, Andy and I were looking at each other like, who the fuck is this? We just genuinely had no fucking clue, because either they were cool years ago, but like in the early 2010s, or they just were jobbers straight up. And so that was like a little boring. But then as the ending of it came, it was like, oh, this is cool. We're cool. Like, we were getting more characters that we knew and we liked. And then 30 shows up, and it's Brock Lesnar. There are still 8 guys in the ring, and I look over at Andy with this look. I just go, well, Brock's going to win. Like, it was so fucking painfully obvious what they were doing. It was disgusting. It was genuinely disgusting. And I was so fucking irritated by that, because so far it was a solid Rumble. And then
solid if you can stand people like Bad Bunny coming in.
Yeah, it was one of the characters I didn't know. Like, he came out and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, he was around this time last year, and I totally quit watching WWE years ago, and then last year Royal Rumble I started watching again, but I was only watching on the pay-per-view days because I still find Raw and SmackDown unbearable to watch, even on the Hulu replay with no commercials.
I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. I have found SmackDown unbearable to watch for a long fucking time. Like, I'm talking back in the end of the Attitude Era. Like, it was always the second-rate show.
Well, yeah, and they've recently, tried to change that up with their draft and everything, and so, we got these superstars over here and these superstars over here, and every year we'll shake it up so we can get new rivalries. And I'm like, the last good feud the WWE ran, the really good feud they ran was probably Jericho and Shawn Michaels. That was
That's
a
fair.
great months-long feud, but look how long ago that was.
Right.
Michaels is retired and Jericho's in AEW.
To which I've been told 1,000 fucking times by people who like wrestling as well, like watch AEW, and I'm just like, yeah, but that's like a 2 hour thing on Wednesday, and I'm doing something on Wednesday, and then I just forget to fucking watch it.
DVR.
I don't have a DVR. What I have is a bunch
Oh,
of internet.
oh.
Now I can watch it. There's ways to watch it. I just straight up forget. Like, it's not about the inability to. It's just I forget.
Well, we bring that up. We play games on Wednesday nights,
Right.
and we usually start what, 9 p.m., 10 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
See, AEW runs from 8 to 10 for me. Now, I don't know if there's a 3 hour delay for you guys. I assume there is a 3 hour delay on the
Yeah.
West
Yeah. Yeah.
Coast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're playing games at the time when it starts for you. Um, but it really is good. Like it, I
Trust me,
know.
I've looked into it because when I went to that Raw with my brother, like
Hmm.
I kind of reignited my want to watch wrestling again.
Yeah,
And then he was telling me AEW, a bunch of my friends were telling me AEW, you were telling me AEW, and I'm like, all right, let's fucking watch AEW. I'm like, when is it on? Oh, Wednesday nights, when we have our game night. I'm like, okay, so that means I'm gonna forget to fucking watch it. Like, genuinely, unless you contact me on like Thursday afternoon and be like, make sure you watch AEW, it's not gonna fucking happen.
yeah.
It's an out of sight, out of mind situation. Like, unless I make a post-it note and put it under my TV, I'm not gonna fucking remember.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Like I mean, I'm behind. I'm not caught up or anything, but man, it's good. They actually have a openly trans female wrestler,
oh wow.
Nyla Rose. Yeah, Nyla Rose. She's a beast. She's awesome. Um, but
It's
yeah,
yeah. I want to watch it. I just straight up fucking forget. So that's a problem. But anyway, um uh the women's rumble was fun. It was genuinely fun. They kept bringing out wrestlers from the past and like just having a good old time. And
well, you know why they had to keep bringing out people from the past, right?
no, I didn't
They
know
were
why. I
they
just
released over 80 fucking wrestlers last year, men and women.
oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Boy, Vince needs to just fucking retire and hand it off to somebody else. Like, he's a problem right now.
Oh, that's the thing. Everybody always assumed that Triple H and Stephanie would be the ones running the show. They're phasing out everybody that had anything to do with Triple H, like his road agents, his friends. NXT is a fucking joke now. NXT used to be the best thing about WWE, and since they've taken over from Triple H, NXT is shit. It's horrible. It's horrible.
That's funny. So side note, just to move the conversation on, we had a funny moment with Andy's son. He was doing the classic like, I don't like wrestling fucking, did you guys know it's fake? Which drives me fucking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely hate that. Like, for anybody listening to this podcast who doesn't like wrestling, let me break you in on a little fucking secret here. We all know that it's not real. What we do know is that the bumps that they're taking are trained, and those are real. The pain that they have after a match or down the line is all real because it's athletics. However, we know that they have a predestination who's going to win. We know that they're talking in the ring. None of that shit's a secret. So stop fucking saying, "Did you know it's fake?" Also, fake is a fucking super disingenuous word for wrestling.
It's also insulting.
It's very insulting. Like, so Andy's son goes, "Did you guys know it's fake?" And I'm coming out of the bathroom, and Andy goes, "Greg, did you know that wrestling is fake?" And I went, "Get the fuck out of town." it's fake, and like we started overselling that real hard, and Zach just gives us a look like he's fucking angry at us. I was like, dude, we're both in our fucking late 30s. Do you honestly think that we believe this shit's real? Or real to that extent? Like, do you think we look at this as an actual sporting event? Sit down, kid. Shit drives me fucking nuts though. Like my mom and dad do that, and I'm just like, uh-huh. Did you guys know that show you watch about detectives or firefighters is also fake?
Yeah, it's scripted entertainment with an athletic fucking bent. I mean, shit. Speaking of, did you ever watch that Undertaker documentary that you can watch on Peacock, The Last Ride?
Not yet, no, but I want to. I also want to watch. I also want to watch the Broken Skull sessions, or at least listen to them.
Oh, they're good. They're
Like,
good.
I started watching the one with Undertaker, but I had to do something like about a half an hour into it, and I just never went back.
Well, he did 2. So
I thought he did 3 with Undertaker.
Well, he may have done another one in the past 8 to 10 months since I've watched, but I know he did 2 at the time.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah.
Anywho.
No, wrestling's fun, and we had a great time watching it for the most part. It was honestly just the end of the Rumble, the men's Rumble that really sucked. I was very excited to see Lita because she was a huge crush of mine during the Attitude Era. That was pretty cool to see her come out. And then Johnny Knoxville came out during the men's Rumble, which was odd.
Not really, because they've always done shit with the Jackass guys.
Well, hear me out. Hear me out why it's odd. So I thought it would be Steve-O that comes to the ring, and Johnny would have been like a manager, because Johnny had a whole interview recently that there was a stunt in Jackass Forever that made him decide to completely quit doing stunts and stuff. It gave him a massive concussion. It's the one you see in the trailer of him getting hit by the bull. Yeah. It gave him a such a nasty concussion that like his doctor was like, you can't take any hits to the head or to the back. And so we thought for sure that he wasn't going to take a bump, but he took like 3 bumps and got thrown out of the ring. And we were like, okay, like, I guess he's fine.
Well, it's also a more controlled environment and safer and more predictable than the stunts that he's doing. It's still, I don't think safe for him to do what he was doing.
I agree. That's why we thought it would have been Steve-O, genuinely, because Steve-O still does stunts. He still plans on going on tour and whatnot. So,
yeah.
On that note, I'm very fucking excited about that movie this Friday. Very excited.
I wish I could go see it, but it's like, in the next month, there's basically 3 movies that I really want to see, and I'll probably only get to go see 1, maybe 2 of them. So it's like, I can wait for Jackass to come to streaming.
See, here's my thought process, and I get where you're coming from. You know Jackass Forever is going to be good.
Oh,
there's
yes,
no
absolutely.
way it's not. You don't know if those other movies are going to be good.
Oh, I think the Batman's going to be phenomenal.
You don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be really good.
That's still up in the air right now for me. Like, I'm excited to see it. I'm very interested to see it. Same with Uncharted. Both could be garbage or very underwhelming.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But also, it's just a risk I'm willing to take, I guess.
I know I'm actually kind of glad that like I don't like I get why you live where you live because it's a lot cheaper, but at least there's 2 theaters near me. So
yeah, that's the thing. There's not a good movie theater within a 90-minute drive. I mean, there's a theater 30 minutes from here, but it's not a good theater. The owner, when he built it, he cut as many corners as he could. And I went to a few movies there, and it was okay. It wasn't cutting edge or anything, but it was passable. But now it's gotten to the point where it's not passable. And sorry, I had to clear my throat there for a moment.
Right.
The last time I went to a movie there, I took Madison to see the first Wonder Woman movie.
Ah,
That's how long ago it's been. And the
do you know if they've
speakers,
updated it all?
I don't care. Um, well, I kind of have personal beef with the owner.
Oh, fair enough.
He used to be my boss and was also my landlord at two different points in time. And, had me do things for him that weren't legal when it comes to real estate, like forging signatures on documents for property changing hand and paying me to do it, and being a dumb 22-year-old kid, 23-year-old kid,
Jesus.
being like, yeah, you give me $100, I'll absolutely forge a signature for you on this. He fucked me over on multiple occasions. And, so no, I don't want to give him business. I don't give a fuck if he's updated or not.
That's fair.
Small town shit, folks. Small town shit.
When I asked the question, I certainly didn't know that there was beef. So there's
there's not really beef. I don't give a fuck what happens to him. Take it or leave it. I don't hate the guy, but I certainly don't give a fuck about him.
Well, I would not call that beef. There's history. So well, on that note, I plan on seeing all three of the movies that we have stated, in short succession of one another for February, because they all look good. Yeah. I'm but like this Friday is Jackass, and then
3 weeks.
Fucking Batman comes out in March.
Yeah, but it's the first weekend of March, and it's only 4 weeks away. So
yeah, fair enough. But
February is only 28 days after all.
But yeah, then Sunday I stayed at his house to watch the football game. But the problem is that Thursday night my tooth started hurting a little bit, and I was like, whatever. I wake up Friday and it's like not really there. But then by the time I was leaving, because I had to work that morning, and then by the time I was leaving to his house Saturday afternoon, like a solid hour before the Rumble, it was hurting real bad. And during the entire Rumble, it was hurting real bad. And I had, I'd brushed it and cleaned it and all that stuff, like, as best I could, and took pain medication, but it was still sucked. But as I was drinking more and more, I just didn't care. And then, we had, we ended the night. It was fine, whatever. But the problem was that, I didn't know it was infected, and it was causing a small, like, it was a small infection. It wasn't, massive. Because in February of 2020, this whole side of my face was swollen from an infection.
I remember that.
This one wasn't.
Like you had a softball in your cheek.
Yeah, it was bad. This one wasn't nearly as bad, but it was causing me to have a small fever. I didn't know this. So when I woke up Sunday morning, that small fever had caused me to have a really nasty headache. And so for the entire Super Bowl, I'm taking way too much pain medication, dealing with this fucking headache. And I'm just like, why can't I go do something and have fun? Like, I'm busy all the fucking time because I'm taking care of my parents, and then I get an actual weekend to go do something fucking fun, and I have to have a headache and a toothache. Like, what the fuck?
That suck.
But other than that, I had a good time. It was. I mean, other than the Niners losing, that sucked. But
it was a good game. But it was the outcome I anticipated.
The outcome a lot of people anticipated. What people didn't anticipate was people kept saying it was going to be a fucking smattering. It wasn't.
No, I was expecting a field goal because that's just the way these playoffs have been. I mean,
yeah.
Field goal for 6 games in a row.
Yeah. It's been nuts.
Well, except for the Chiefs winning by a touchdown, but still.
But yeah, other than that, it's been an interesting week. I got to play a little bit of that new Pokemon game, which it's mostly fine. I think I kind of explained to you that the world seems very, very barren.
Yeah.
But the idea of how to catch Pokemon and the game is different than other Pokemon games. I was like, oh, this is this will be interesting. So I'll give it more time, but I'm going to be honest. I don't think I'm finishing it.
Oh, that's
We'll see though.
unfortunate.
We'll see though. Because here's the other issue. Like in 2 weeks, Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West comes out.
I know. I'm so
So-
excited for that.
And I'm playing the fuck out of that. Well, the fuck out of for me is a lot different than you.
Oh yeah.
The fuck of playing something the fuck of for me is like, let me give you an example. So I'm playing Halo Infinite right now. It's an open world game, but each section of the game has a different story part or story piece, I should say. And my goal was to make sure that I had the shield and the grappling hook fully upgraded before moving on. There are 3 other abilities you get in the game. You can drop a shield, you can dodge left and right, and there's a third or another ability I don't remember. It's like you put a tracker down on the ground and you can see invisible enemies. So there's those 3 abilities. I don't fucking use them. I don't care. I have the game on easy, so I can play and have a good time without worrying about death too much. I have died, but the game is very forgiving with checkpoints. So that's a thing. But point I'm getting at is now that I have those 2 things fully upgraded, I'm just doing story missions. I don't care about side missions.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can beat that game quickly and then get back to Pokemon, but we'll see. Anyway, we should talk about what we came here to talk about. 20 fucking minutes of talking about shit. So today we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett, episode 6, the penultimate episode, which I found out about last night. I thought there were 8 episodes. Nope, there's only 7.
Yeah, I told you. We've said on here that it's a 7.
I thought it was 8. Okay, well then whatever. I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
You just forgot.
Yeah, probably. And then we're also going to talk about the Legend of Vox Machina, which you can find on Amazon Prime, and there's a lot of information we'll get through on that because there's a little bit of backstory on that. But yeah, let's talk about Book of Boba Fett, episode 6. Have you ever watched the trailers for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where they show a bunch of characters and they're like, everyone is here? Because that was this episode of Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. Holy shit. This gave us. It was more an extension of The Mandalorian and possibly a precursor into the Ahsoka series.
Mm-hmm.
We start out, we see Timothy Oliphant back as Cobb Vanth, and he takes out some Pack Syndicate guys and takes their spice that they were moving and kicks it over and disperses it to the winds. And we're like, well, that's going to spell trouble for him.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
What was funny about this episode, before we get into all the fucking characters, Jesus Christ, every time it would reveal a new character, whether they be a legacy character or, whatever, I kept saying to myself, oh shit, all right, goddamn, they're just bringing that character in. Holy shit, that's amazing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I did a very audible oh fuck at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, there was one very specific character that I was like, oh no. And
probably the same character that I dropped the oh fuck at.
Well, because my dad was like, I don't know who this is. And I was like, bad fucking news is who this guy is. And he was like, all right, oh, how bad? And I'm like, just wait. God damn it. But before we get to that, because that's the end of Cobb Vanth's story. With Mando, he goes to give the armor to Grogu. We see a lot of Luke training Grogu, which was rad.
Yeah, it was.
The CGI on young Luke looks way better than at the end of Mandalorian season 2.
It still had iffy moments in it.
Oh, sure.
But,
you still got that Uncanny Valley shit for sure.
That's hard to do, though, to de-age someone basically 30, 35 fucking years.
Yeah.
It's difficult for them to do, but they did a pretty good job with it overall.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. But then Mando wants to see him, and is he's resting next to what will be Luke's Jedi temple that we saw at the in the
Being
new trilogy.
constructed. Yeah, it was cool that we actually see it being constructed by these worker droids.
Right.
And we see R2.
Oh yeah, I think I just was like, R2, how's it going, buddy? And my dad just looks at me. I was like, look, he's my favorite fucking character. Leave me alone.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, that's been for a long time.
Hmm.
I love R2. Fucking love R2. The but yeah, Mando is waiting. He's sitting on a bench essentially that they constructed real fucking quick, and he gets woken up by Ahsoka, which was fucking rad. I was like, oh shit, what's up, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka? That's wild. But it was nice to know that Ahsoka knows about Luke and knows who Luke is related to. Like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't
That was
clear
a
in
nice
season
little
2.
touch. That was a nice little touch. Just to say I'm, friend of the family. And I was like,
When she tells Luke that he reminds her, like, or he says, she says, you remind me of your father, or something like that, or just like your father, when he's like trying to figure out how to train.
yeah, so much like your father, or something along those lines.
I was like, oh, she would know. She would for sure know. But like, that's the other thing I like about Ahsoka too, is that, and a lot of people don't realize this, she has denounced being a Jedi, but she did not denounce the being a force wielder, being having lightsabers. She did not denounce that. So that's still completely part of her character. And I love that. I thought that, like, I'm so excited for her show. And Rosario Dawson fucking kills it as her, like, every fucking time.
Yeah. All 2 times that we've seen her now.
But that was the end of her story, or the end of that like bit was Mando wants to give that armor that is made of what's the metal?
Beskar.
Beskar, thank you. To Grogu.
Yeah, we weren't sure. I mean, it was alluded to that it was armor, but yeah, this episode confirms it's a little chain shirt.
Yeah, a little chainmail shirt. But Ahsoka's right. Like, if Grogu is going to train as a Jedi, he needs to break attachments. And because of the journey that those two went on in season 1 and 2, they have a strong attachment to one another. And like, Mando understands this. Din said, Din wants to meet Grogu again. He wants to go to him because of the connection, but he knows it's bad for his training, and hands it over to Ahsoka, to which Ahsoka just like gives that to Luke eventually. Yeah. And then Luke gives, at the end of the episode, gives Grogu a choice. He says, chainmail made of Beskar, and you'll go back to Mando, or Yoda's fucking lightsaber.
Yeah.
Good Lord, was that rad. I was like, oh, like, and what I'm hoping is that he chooses the lightsaber, trains to be a Jedi, and then, like, in season 3 of Mando, we see Grogu, like, take the chainmail and leave. But he still has, like, I don't know, that's what I'm kind of hoping, but we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. I don't know. Having him have the Beskar armor with a lightsaber and be somewhat, force trained sounds awesome.
I like how Luke was telling him, he's like, look, he said, you may never see him again, because a short time for you is a lifetime to so many. Alluding to the fact that Yoda lived to be over 900 years old.
Right.
And Grogu at this point is 50.
Yeah.
Because I remember in the first episode of The Mandalorian, they said the subject's 50 years old. So at this point, he'd be 51, roughly. But yeah, it was cool to see him training, actually jumping and flipping and, starting to see cool little Grogu stuff.
Yeah, it's Like, I know that we're probably not going to see Grogu again until Mandalorian because of the story that's been unfolding on Tatooine with Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really fucking nice to see that he's doing well. Like, I think we've all grown attached to Grogu as a character.
Most people. There's some people that just absolutely hate him and want to see him offed, but I mean,
Weird.
those people have no joy in their life.
Like, I get going, I'm not really a fan of Grogu. Wanting to see him offed? Weird. Anyway, so yeah, the other story that we get is of Cobb Vanth, if you remember, played by Timothy Olyphant in Mandalorian season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he
Well, before we get to that point, Mando, after he leaves whatever planet it is that Luke and Grogu and Ahsoka were on, he goes to meet up with Boba Fett. And that's when Boba's saying, okay, these families are
I was getting to that,
laying.
but I was going to mention the opening shot with Cobb and the
Oh,
bike.
okay.
Yeah, because that scene happens before any of this other stuff.
Yeah,
And,
that's what I mentioned earlier.
I know, but we didn't really explain what made that scene significant, because there are two parts of that whole scene that are really important to keep in mind. That Cobb has effectively made an enemy of the Pikes.
Mm-hmm.
And when he tells the last remaining Pike to leave the chest on the ground, the Pike says that the chest is worth more than his town, to which then the Pike leaves, and he opens the chest, sees the spice, and kicks it over, as if to not give a single fuck about the spice. That, to me, was very important in terms of the story progression, just because it would have made more sense for what happens next with Cobb. But then, yes, then we get to Mando talking to Boba Fett about they have the muscle, but they don't have the troops. They don't have the relatively small army that they're going to need.
And that's when he says, well, maybe I can help with that. And that's when Din Djarin flies out to Mos Pelgo, now called Freetown, to talk to Cobb Vanth and try to recruit the townspeople to fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, the Pikes aren't going to settle for just fighting out here. Eventually, it's going to come here too. And he's like, we don't, we're square, me and you. He's like, yeah, but I'm asking for a favor. You don't know how hard this is. He's like, let me see what I can do. And the bartender, he's like, that's a city fight. We don't have any involvement in that. He goes and he sees Mando off. And then a moment later, you see this figure in a haze. It's like almost a mirage, like walking in the desert, approaching Freetown.
So in this scene, I got to say this much before we get to who this person was, because if you've watched the episode, a little bit of a spoiler alert coming up, because it's probably the biggest and coolest character reveal. Because so far up to this point, we've just had, ooh, that character's back, and ooh, that character's back, right? This was probably the biggest surprise, personally.
This is 5 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's asleep, and I was just like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, so that was roughly my reaction, because I sat up in my chair and I went, "No fucking way, no fucking way!" My dad's like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "If it's who I think it is, bad fucking news." And he was like, "Oh my god, okay." And I was like, and then he gets closer and I see his chin with the fucking things coming out, and I just went, "It's not fucking Cad Bane. They brought fucking Cad Bane into this." And Dad's like, "Who's Cad Bane?" I'm like, "Shush, I'll tell you later. Bad fucking news. He's a bad guy. Don't worry about it." And so after the situation, because my dad was kind of still on the boat of like, "Oh, fucking Cobb's gonna take him out," and I'm like, So yeah, that scene, that would have gone down way the fuck differently, by the way, if the deputy did not step in.
Oh yeah.
Like, Cad would have still beat Cobb in a duel,
Oh,
but the
absolutely.
deputy absolutely fucked up any kind of bureaucracy.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that Cobb survived because based on where the blaster hit him, it looked like it hit him in the right shoulder. It looks like he's been left for dead. He's heavily wounded, but that deputy's fucking dead.
Yeah, Cobb. Yeah, I was gonna say, Cad doesn't aim willy nilly. He means to hit
No.
where he means to hit. Period.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
uh, he hit Cobb in a spot that he knew wasn't going to be fatal, 100%. While
It
he
was absolutely intended to deliver a message.
and he unbelievably destroyed that deputy. Good gourd. It was what, fucking 4 or 5 rounds into his chest.
That was
Rounds
cool.
being blaster shots, but whatever. But goddamn, dude, I was like, oh no. Like, we even watched a video after the episode was over that was like, who is Cad Bane? Because my dad was like, I have no clue what this character is. I'm like,
Oh, and
really?
he looks so badass.
God, he looks cool. Cad Bane was arguably one of the best characters to come out of the Clone Wars show. That then made it into what? I think Rebels and Bad Batch now.
See, I've not watched past episode 7 of season 1 of the Clone Wars. I just know that Cad Bane was a bad motherfucker. And he was very popular. But he looks badass.
Yeah, I watched quite a bit of I haven't watched any Bad Batch, but that video that my dad and I watched, they explained that he's in Bad Batch. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, dude, I was unbelievable. Like I was like, there's like they fucking brought one of the most biggest badasses into fucking Star Wars, like into live action Star Wars. That's so fucking exciting. Well, anyway, so Cobb's down for the count, and it definitely looks like that Freetown will involve themselves in the Pike War because the Pikes have hired Cad Bane. I really, really hope that we get that inevitable
Boba Fett versus Cad Bane showdown.
Yeah, we were supposed to apparently have that in Clone Wars. Or not Clone Wars, I'm sorry, in Rebels. We were supposed to have that in Rebels. Or Bad Batch, one of the fucking two, but it never came to fruition. So people are really hoping to see that, and me too. But yeah, there was a lot that fucking happened in this episode. It was arguably better than last week's, and last week's was amazing.
I know. It was funny because we were getting ready to record, and I slept because my sleep schedule's been off the past couple of nights. I slept until like 9:30 this morning, and I was just making breakfast when you messaged me. And I get done, and Misty's like, "Aren't you going to watch The Mandalorian?" And I was like, "Honey, I watched it like 4:30 this morning." She's like, "Oh, well, how was it?" I was like, "Oh," and she's like, "Wait, last week was and last week was amazing. Are you saying this week's as good?" I was like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh, she can't wait to watch it." A lot of O's there, I realize.
Well, I was gonna say the other thing I should mention that video that my dad and I watched, which I didn't know, the dent in Boba Fett's helmet was from Cad Bane's blaster.
Yeah, they tried to set it up that when Jango was getting on the Slave One in Attack of the Clones and he bumped his head, they're trying to say that's where the dent came from.
Oh no, they full on wrote it into one of the animated series. That it was from that, which I think is way the fuck cooler than bumping his head.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I'm stoked for the finale. I cannot wait for the finale. It's gonna be outstanding. So, well, why don't we go ahead and give it a grade, and we'll move on to the next thing.
Oh, this episode gets an A+.
100%.
This episode was fucking wonderful.
I don't even think we really need to give it a grade because we're both going to give it an A fucking plus.
Yeah. It's got a lot. It's got returning characters. It's got setup. It's got build up for the finale. Potential setup for future episodes of The Mandalorian, potential setup for the Ahsoka series. It's just wow. Cad fucking Bane. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. There's a lot there, and it's all fun, all good. Oh yeah, we didn't even mention the Pikes going into the casino that Jennifer Beals character runs.
I forgot Jennifer Beals dead now.
Yeah, they blew up the fucking casino. They just walk in, and the
What
server
was
droid comes up, goes to get them drinks. They leave a Camtono, and they get up and walk out, and the droid's like, "Oh, you're Camtono. Aren't you going to take it?" And then kabloom.
Yeah, it was really funny in the beginning of that scene. I was mentioning to my dad, I was like, man, Jennifer Beals is still hot. Also, why are all Twi'leks fucking hot? And my dad's like, yeah, I don't fucking know. It seems to be that way. And I'm like, it always is that way. Like Twi'leks are just hot. And then that explosion happens. I was like, bye hot Jennifer Beals.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
the Pikes, have basically
declared
struck
war full
back.
on.
Yeah, because Cobb Vanth, I think he really, you know, cast the first stone by kicking over the spice. Um, this was the Pikes saying, "Oh, well, fuck all y'all. This is going to be our territory, and you're going to deal with it." That's basically that statement.
Yep.
But
Oh,
yeah, this was a great episode.
it's all very exciting. I keep people keep saying that like the first 4 episodes of Book of Boba Fett were boring. And I remember we watched that and we were like, where does the story go from here? Because like it's building to this war with the Pikes, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like we were both very interested. Not so much excited, but very interested to see where the story would go. Little did we fucking know the next 2 episodes would be unbelievably incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like little did we know that they were going to bring back all these fucking characters and they're like, woo, it's exciting. It's fun Star Wars. Like people have said, like, just give the fucking franchise to Dave Filoni fully and let, people like, what's his ass?
Favreau,
like co-write stories because he can't, he's that's ridiculous for him to write all of them, but let those 2 be the next Kevin Feige or let them be the Kevin Feige for Star Wars for fuck's sake. Like I like with Dave Filoni definitely there. Like I'm very excited for the future of Star Wars. Very excited. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the Legend of Vox Machina. Because we are at 40 minutes of this podcast. So for a little bit of background on the Legend of Vox Machina, which you can find the first 3 episodes of the show on Amazon Prime. And then they're going to release 3 at a time until the series or the first season is done, which is 12 episodes long. So a couple years ago, Critical Role, which is a D&D live show / podcast, which consists of voice actors. This was the biggest draw for Critical Role for a long time, was that every person that's playing right now is a uber fucking nerd. They've read D&D 5th edition front and back at the very least. Matt Mercer, who is the DM, he's been playing D&D since he was a kid. And so he knows like D&D like the back of his fucking hand. It's ridiculous. So it's good that he's a DM. But every episode they do runs about 4 hours long. And they do a full campaign. So their first campaign ran 114 episodes at 4 hours a pop an episode. And again, like I said, what makes this interesting is that each of the people playing is a voice actor. So when you're listening or when you're watching, you can tell the difference between the person out of character and in character real fucking easily just by the voice that they use. But what also makes Critical Role so much fun is it's very lighthearted. So nobody is taking it too seriously, but they're taking it seriously enough. So
God forbid someone would ever take D&D too fucking seriously.
they don't need to. So when they were done with their first campaign, they wanted to make something that took everything about D&D or about their first campaign and make it into a more condensed story. You know, take out all the stuff that D&D has with like describing the surroundings, asking certain questions. They wanted to take the story and make it into into its own thing, and they did that with the comic. They made a whole comic series based on their first campaign, The Legend of Vox Machina. So, like I said, a couple years ago, Critical Role put together a Kickstarter to do an animated series on The Legend of Vox Machina. And in doing so, they said that $750,000 was their goal. In a day, they raised $11 million.
That's pretty amazing.
By the end of the campaign, I think the Kickstarter campaign, sorry, it was like at 22 million or some shit like that. So not only are they,
which was enough to fund 10 episodes out of the 12.
I think so, something like that. And then of course, you know, Amazon came through and was like, we'll produce more. We'll produce 2 whole seasons. So that's what they're doing, 24 episodes right now.
Yeah, I mean, they announced according to the Wikipedia in 2019 that they were going to give them 2 seasons. So,
well, I'll tell you this much right now: expect more from either Critical Role's campaigns as animated series, because they're on their 3rd campaign. They finished the whole 2nd campaign. It was like, again, another 100 and some odd episodes at 4 hours a pop. Which I'm going to be honest, don't have the patience to listen to that. I just don't. Like, I like D&D enough. I like the actors and the whole thing, but going through and listening to 4 hours of people play D&D is a bit much. So, and Matt recognizes this. That was one of the things he had in an interview where he was like, that's why we wanted to make the comic in the first place, was to give people who Vox Machina was. But without the, you know, voice actors or the fun from that angle, it's kind of hard to do that. So the animated series was the obvious next progression. And we feel so lucky that this is something that can happen. And I got to tell you, after the first 3 episodes of this show, fucking in love. Absolutely in love. I don't know how you feel. I'm hoping you like it as much as I do, or at least the modicum amount.
I don't hate it. It's fun. It's very lighthearted. It's not what I expected.
What were you expecting?
I honestly had no expectation, you know, because I have never listened to anything from Critical Role, and I'd never read the comic or anything like that, so I had no expectations. I didn't think it was going to be as lighthearted as it is, and it's not a bad thing. It's just I'm surprised it's I was initially surprised at like the opening introduction to all the characters. Like, oh, here's your stereotypical slutty bard. I wasn't expecting that, you know. And why is it the bard's always slutty?
I think it's because it was it's a stereotypical thing, but that's the thing you got to keep in mind. Like, one of the things that people have criticized Vox Machina on versus like their 2nd campaign, which I don't remember the name of it, they start having more fun with classes and characters.
Mm-hmm.
They start kind of going out of the box with what the character is typically known for versus what they do.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, but that, again, that's first campaign versus 2nd campaign almost all the fucking time.
Yeah. It was refreshing to see it taken not so seriously, but yet taken seriously enough.
Yeah. I think that's what I loved about these first 3 episodes was that, like, there's a very seriousness to the story. You have this giant dragon who's killing people. But, you know, this band of misfits doesn't really get along, so you have a lot of funny banter. I personally feel like the opening scene in the bar definitely nails the feel for the whole show.
Yeah.
But like I said, because I know that it's based off of a D&D campaign, my brain plays with a lot of things that are going on. So when the druid character, when she is drunk and she goes to attack the wolf, but then pukes in his mouth, I honestly feel like that happened in the campaign and she rolled low, and that's what Matt came up with.
Probably.
Which is fucking amazing to me. Like, and I do that through the whole show constantly. I'm always like, oh, how did that play out in D&D? That's fun. Like,
yeah. I mean, I like it when a DM gives funny interpretations versus, like if you roll low. I know back in the day, if you rolled low, like a critical failure meant, oh, your weapon broke, or this happens, or you fall down and stab yourself, or oh, you've cut your own head off. I'm like, that's fucking dumb.
yeah,
Get fun with it. Get creative with it.
yeah,
And
that's Matt has made it very clear in multiple interviews that when he DMs, it's very important to him that characters don't die, straight up. And the reason that he says that is primarily because he doesn't want players to be discouraged from doing fun things. He doesn't want to discourage players from making mistakes and then learning from those mistakes or something to that effect. He looks at D&D as a fun experience. And if you're not making it fun for someone, you're gatekeeping. Straight the fuck up.
yeah, I mean, one of the unwritten rule: never split the party ever.
Right.
But it can be a great learning experience when somebody is like, well, you know what? I'm going to go do this while everybody else is doing this, and then run into something that they can't handle and nearly die from it. But then, as it can be a learning experience. Say, well, you were so exhausted, you were having a dream, what have you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there as an example of things that can happen, to be a teaching moment.
Well, like the end of the first two
unappreciated.
episodes, the end of the first two episodes of this campaign of the Vox Machina thing has them fighting a giant fucking dragon. And earlier in the show, at the end of the first episode, it's very clear that they might not be like strong enough to fight the dragon in general.
Yeah.
But by the end of the second episode, they very clearly are. Now, I think it was for the sake of animation that they came up with that plan. But I think it was definitely inspired by how they handled the dragon in the campaign. And a part of me wants to go back and like watch them fight this dragon in the actual D&D campaign to see how that played out.
Mm-hmm.
But for the sake of the show, like they come up with this plan and they execute it really well, and they split that fucking dragon's head in half. And so it's stuff like that that's very clear to me that Matt's like, yeah, I don't care if they were strong enough to begin with. They're strong enough now. I'm going to adjust the dragon for them to be able to beat it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a team effort. It's not like, well, one person can absolutely do it. No, it takes everybody working together. And that's the beauty about D&D. You figure out how, figure out what your character can do, figure out how to work with your team, knowing, what your team can do, and come up with creative situations rather than just say, we're a bunch of fucking murder hobos and we're going to kill everything. I hate that fucking term.
I don't mind that term if it's used loosely or once in a while, but well, they actually say
there's a moment in the fucking, like, when they're trying to recruit mercenaries, like, well, the murder hobos got murdered and the death dealers are dead, and
little jokes like that were really fucking nice. Little references to D&D in general, but I'm pleasantly fucking surprised and happy with how well this show turned out. And that's another thing to keep in mind, everybody. Like, there's a lot of celebrity voices in the show, but none of the people that played in the campaign Like they all voice their characters. Like it was everybody, like just straight up everybody that played a fucking character in the D&D campaign came back and reprised their role for the show.
Oh, that's cool.
Except for a few, like General Krieg, who turned out to be the dragon, was just voiced by Matt Mercer.
No,
but
David Tennant.
In the campaign, he was voiced by Matt Mercer.
Oh, my bad.
But then for the show, they were like, who could we get? And it was like, stuff like that's fine by me. If the DM's voicing like 80 characters, he doesn't have to, like, I don't want Matt Mercer to have to voice 80 fucking characters in the show. You know, he voices like 8, but as for 80, I'm like, that's too much. So it was nice. Like, if you look at the IMDb list, there's a lot of good fucking voice actors, or just actors in general. So, but yeah, I'm absolutely in love. And that's the other thing about this show that I love is the characters are just so much fun. There's some great jokes. Instead of just like making an anal bead joke, they vaguely allude to it through characters having a funny interaction.
Yeah.
And I fucking love that. Like, it's so much fucking fun. This show kind of reminds me of what I love about Guardians of the Galaxy. Like,
no, I get that.
Band of misfits just trying to not die. So I'm gonna watch every episode as it comes out, and apparently we are too at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I like it well enough to where I don't mind one bit to review it each week.
It's only 4 weeks long, so
yeah, it's 4 weeks long. I didn't know what to expect. You know, I don't dislike it. I don't hate it. I was surprised that, you know, it wasn't as serious as I like my D&D, but that's the thing. I don't like my D&D being super serious all the time. Like playing, you know, I like fun, lighthearted banter. I like funny situations. I like ridiculous things here and there. You know, it doesn't have to be all grit, murder, and doom all the fucking time.
I'm a big fan of stories kind of like doing a cross between serious and goofy.
Yeah.
It's one of the big reasons why I think, like, I know that you aren't the biggest fan of these things, but Thor Ragnarok works so well. That story probably has the worst outcome for any of the heroes in the MCU. But it's also,
I still need to go back and watch that again. I've only watched it the one time.
I mean, you got to think it from this perspective. Like, Thor loses his hammer, his dad, his home,
his eye.
Like, he loses so fucking much in this movie, but it is by far one of the funniest MCU movies. So there's it's that kind of level of, like, I love that juxtaposition. And it's one of the reasons I think that's the Suicide Squad is so good, is it also does that. But I one of the things I like about this show that the Suicide Squad does also very well is, like, combine comedy with a certain level of gore.
Yeah.
So and this show does that super well. Having all the characters, like, I mean, one of the opening shots is
the opening shot of that fucking party, and you're like, oh, okay, these are the heroes we're being introduced to. Little did I know, fuck them. Yeah.
Like, they, oh my god, they get fucking brutally annihilated by that dragon. And I thought that was just, I was like, okay. Like, I get where the comedy is coming from in the show, and they do that quite a bit. Also, it's abundantly clear to me that Vex and Vox are bisexual or pansexual.
Yeah, it appears to be that way, especially.
Pan is better to say on that one. Though I don't think that either of them would fuck the bear.
Oh, the druid would.
Yeah, maybe. That's a very big movie.
She wild shape when she's drunk.
But yeah. So for anybody that's wanting to get into this, know that the animation is fucking top notch. Like, it's amazing.
The animation is very good.
But also keep in mind, like, this entire story was built off of a D&D campaign. So when you're watching certain things happen, know that it was all done through conversation, dice rolling. Like, I love that one of the characters there never told his backstory to the rest of the group. So when he's like pointing his gun at the fucking carriage driver and they're all surprised by this, I love that happened in D&D, where like that he fucking had this entire thing and revealed a part of it in story to the other characters that had no fucking clue. Like, it's awesome. It's fucking awesome. I love it. Again, I would love to go and listen or watch all of their first campaign. Each episode's 4 hours long, and there's 117 of them. I don't have the time. But I am hoping that somebody puts something on YouTube that's like, you know, how this played out in the show, or, you know, whatever from the animated series. We'll see. Anyway, let's go ahead and give a grade and get the fuck out of here.
Well, I'll let you go first.
A+. Absolutely A+. I was laughing for a lot of it. I enjoyed the animation. I enjoyed the voice acting. It's all very talented people. Lots of little things that happened throughout that I thought were just absolutely wonderful. So, yeah, A+. I can't say any more kind words about it for me.
Well, based on these first 3 episodes, based on having no knowledge about it, based on having no expectations, you know, I'm gonna say B+. I don't dislike it. You know, I was a little surprised by certain things, and you know, hopefully this score will change over time as the series progresses. But the voice cast is wonderful. Great voice acting, fun story, intriguing story, and lighthearted enough to give you those laughs after, you know, you do get some heavy moments.
Mhm.
Like when the town that they go to, they find that these villagers, they're like, oh, you know, we don't know what it is. And then they find out that it's the dragon. And when they could have faced the dragon, they're like, yeah, we don't need to face a dragon. The dragon slays everybody, and the kids they promised to keep safe. You know, after they do slay the dragon, that moment there is like, with the coin, and is like, and Vax is like, this was for you, kid, or something like that. You know, you have those heavy moments. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
I think
enjoy it more as it progresses.
Yeah, I think you will. I genuinely think you will. I think with the backstory of like that this was built off a D&D campaign, it very much adds to the fun of the show. Like watching situations play out and being like, that all played out in D&D originally, fucking so much fun. And I can't wait. I can't wait for more. Like, I'm glad that we're getting 3 episodes a week. That's fun.
Yeah, and they're like, what, 25, 30 minutes a piece? So it's not like it's a big chunk of time. You know, 90 minutes of your day, you can watch it.
Yeah.
In the time that you would normally watch a movie or less, you can watch 3 episodes and boom. Yeah. And they drop every Friday. So
every Friday, yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast. Pardon me. Apparently a little gassy. Next week, we're going to be, watching the finale of Boba Fett, as I'm sure you know. And we're going to review the next 3 episodes, 4, 5, and 6 of Vox Machina. So come back for more Star Wars and D&D talk next week. And make sure you follow us on all the socials listed down below. That's what if we'll add anything to the show or whatever, which is a total possibility. Who knows? And follow the YouTube channel. That's where you can watch the podcast live, or the live version of it. But if you'd already listened to it, go ahead and hit the like button on the YouTube channel. Give it a follow or a subscribe, I should say, so that helps the algorithm, helps us, yada yada. You know the deal. Check out our Teespring store. We have a lot of stuff there you can buy with our cartoon faces on it. I should write down the name of the guy that draws it. You know it off the top of your head. So
Yeah, William Fong.
Fong.
On Instagram, Mr. Jet 3000. Hit him up for commissions. He does amazing work.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So yeah, there's that. I don't have my notes out because I'm trying to do a better job of just remembering everything, but I think that's it. Yeah, it's socials, Teespring, YouTube. And that's it. And then I go, Maya, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Maya Dawn Fisher. It's a public profile. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can. Hit me up, chat with me about things we discuss on the podcast or what have you. Just don't be creepy about it. I'm cool. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, those are linked to my Facebook page. You can follow me from there. Better than listing everything individually. But yeah, you can also catch me on another podcast called Figure Bangin', which airs on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel every other Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Soon to be moving that a little bit earlier in the evening, actually. Probably going to move to somewhere like 8 p.m., which would mean I would be done by 10 p.m. every week when I do it. So it won't interfere with game night anymore. Which will be cool. But more to that once more details come to light, I'll let you know. But yeah, that's everywhere where you can find me. What about you, Greg?
And you can follow me on all socials under Trub Rock Geek. You can also find me doing stuff from time to time with my buddy Anthony, where we talk about video games and video game news on Mission Start Podcast or Mission Start Tubes. I know that he has a whole new series coming up with a like a VTuber persona. If that's something you're into, go check that out. But yeah, I'm hoping to record more with him soon here. I need to do another review of a video game, but I'm running out of time on things. Yeah. That's it. That's it for that. Again, guys, check out the Book of Boba Fett finale and episode 4, 5, and 6 of Vox Machina. That'll be the discussion next week, like I said. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.